Welcome to this very special edition of the Author's Voice with KAJ, a show where we explore the stories behind the stories. Here we dive into the worlds created by authors, discover their inspirations, and ensure that you walk away enriched and inspired. And today we have with us Dr. Josh McConkey, emergency physician, military commander, best-selling award-winning author, as well as a lottery winner. But beyond that, he's also a Pulitzer Prize nomination he has got. So we'll talk about all that. We'll talk about his book. He's written the book, Be the Weight Behind the Spear. We'll talk about that. So let's dive into the story behind the story. Welcome to the show, Dr. Josh.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the warm invite.
You are welcome. Welcome once again to the KJ Masterclass. This time on the Author's Voice with KJ. So we'll be talking about your book. But before that, let's understand first about the Pulitzer Prize nomination. A bit of that, and then we'll come to the other aspects of the book.
Well, thank you. So I think it was the right book for the right time. The United States has been so divided politically and generationally. I think just a unifying message of, hey, we need to get together. Something we can all agree on is bringing the country together and just raising the next generation of leaders. So this was really my prescription to address those issues with a younger generation that struggles with some leadership and resiliency skills. And I didn't win, but even getting a nomination was pretty flattering. And for me, you put so much time into a book, you just hope people care. So that was really an added bonus.
Absolutely. Forget about a Pulitzer Prize nomination. Even writing a book itself is a big thing, Dr. Josh. And that is where my actual question comes in about the becoming part of an author. You have had a very busy life. You are very busy still. Where did this idea of becoming an author, writing, giving so much of time, how did that happen? What was the inspiration here, Dr. Josh? Let's understand that story behind your story.
So going to work every day, I just saw people struggling. So there's a whole generation, I've called them the COVID generation. If you look at the last half of Gen Z, that was really affected during COVID, where they, just were shut out of schools and their churches and their communities during those really formative years. The downstream effects now have been a tremendous amount of mental health issues, a mental health crisis. So every day at work, I see the anxiety, the depression, and I was seeing a rising suicide rate. And as a military commander, I was seeing those same issues in our younger service members that just lacked resiliency skills and basic leadership. I felt like I had to do something. So I sat down, I spent probably a year and a half, writing the book. It was my first time writing. And so I had a lot to learn. I knew nothing about the process. But when you're passionate about something and you really believe in it, you put that time in, and I was very fortunate. It turned out very well, and it's making a difference. So that's all you can ask for.
Absolutely. So let's get to the book straight away. Here is the book, The Weight Behind the Spear. I like it very simplistically, but saying a lot of things. Tell us a bit firstly about the title itself, Dr. Josh. What does the title mean? How should people understand? What does that image on the cover depict?
Yeah, the weight behind the spear. So be the weight behind the spear. That's my personal leadership ethos. I've been very fortunate. I've worked with a lot of just incredible individuals in my life. I've worked with some special operations, and these are the individuals. This is the tip of the spear, kicking down doors. You're rescuing the children in the cave systems in Thailand in 2018. Like, just when it hits the fan and things get crazy, you pick up the red bat phone. Like, this is who you call. So that's the tip of the spear. What you realize when you work with those individuals is that they all have someone that gave them the amazing confidence to do what they do. It was the weight behind their spear. So their teachers, coaches, volunteers, and families. I mean, that's a tremendous weight. And without the weight behind that, you're nothing. So if you can get more people to engage their communities, get out there and make a difference, coaching, volunteering, going into your schools, that will make a big difference in your community. That's being the weight behind the spear.
Absolutely. Let's get inside the book. What is inside the book? It's a difficult subject to write on, Dr. Josh. Maybe not for you, but from where I am sitting, I look at it from that point of view. Help us understand what's inside the book.
So it's really divided into 4 sections. So the first section is just some great stories that I've just teaching the basics: leadership, accountability, ownership, just some of the basics that the younger generation just has not had that exposure to. And probably my favorite story in there is when Coach K, he's a famous basketball coach here in the United States for Duke University, Coach Krzyzewski, and he gave a leadership lecture for the residency program. I was a professor at Duke University, and it was just mesmerizing. It was 2 hours of just pure leadership brilliance. And I was able to incorporate that into one of the chapters of the book when you talk about ownership in an organization, taking accountability for yourself, and just great leadership points. The second section of the book is really how to not be the weight behind the spear. So, there's lots of good people and great examples. Sometimes you can learn from the really bad examples too. So I had just a crazy CEO that was embezzling money and doing some illegal things. Don't be that guy. And then everyone's had a bad leader in their life too. So you can learn from great leaders, and then you can learn from bad leaders because you don't want to be that person. So that's the section of the book of how to not be the weight. So you can learn from bad leaders too. And then really kind of what formed the third section is what formed me, just those formative experiences. I get to talk about some of my teachers and my wrestling coaches and some of those people that had such a huge part, like my family, my grandparents, my parents. And then the last section, just some great stories of, just kind of illustrating the whole point of being the weight behind the spear. So it turned out very well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, who is this book for, Dr. Josh? Is it for the general people? Is it for leaders who are very good? Is it for leaders who are embezzling money? Or is it
Yeah.
for political leadership? Help us understand from that point of view.
So anybody that's working with Gen Z and that COVID generation, teachers, coaches, families, and business leaders. So a lot of time business leaders don't quite feel like this is their problem, right? Hey, that's a parent's problem, that's the teacher's problem, but they've realized it very quickly when this generation comes looking for jobs. So they're coming out of high school, they're coming out of university, and they're looking for jobs. And now you got to deal with it because you're the business owner. And if we have not taught them those skills, those basics, leadership, resiliency, it's going to be very difficult for you to have a successful business. So the earlier that you get engaged as a business leader, as a community leader, get out there and coach Little League soccer or baseball, cricket, just something, or get out in your schools or your churches. But the earlier you get involved, the better.
Right. So, when you were writing this book or when you wrote this book, what were you hoping it will do for the audience that you were targeting?
I was hoping that it would serve as a template to help this younger generation. So all the kids, if you talk about like 18 to 25 years old, maybe a little bit younger, that's what I deal with as a military commander. That's predominantly what I've seen with the mental health crisis, with the anxiety and depression and suicide rates. So I want this generation to just give them a template to pick themselves back up. Like teach them those leadership skills, teach them to be resilient. They fold so easy, and we have to own that as a nation, as a community. You can't pass, oh, it's somebody else's problem, that's the teacher's problem, or that's just, it has to be you. You have to step in your community and make that difference. So we own that collectively. So here's my prescription to fix the problem.
Absolutely. But why is it you only have to do it? Means also the generation itself has to take that responsibility. Who taught them not to be resilient? Every generation has understood their own way to be resilient. Why is it that they could not be resilient? Why do you see? Are there other factors? Should they also take responsibility for accountability for that sort and take corrective measures? Or only that Josh McConkey will write a book and do things that it will actually happen. Help us understand from a wider
Yes.
perspective,
I,
from other
such,
people, different aspects of our lives, either political, business, societal, everywhere. Why are not people taking their responsibilities that is leading to this particular problem that you recognize, others don't?
well, that's a great point. And the simplest answer is life is a team sport. Like we need everybody on board. So if you look at the two biggest factors in this mental health crisis, so number one, this is the they have this is the generation that has had instantaneous information at their fingertips the entirety of their lives. Every all information known to mankind they have had access to. You couple that with social media, and they almost live in a kind of a false world where everyone is supposed to be happy and have everything and have millions of followers. That's not reality. And when you have also raised them where everyone gets a participation trophy, everybody's a winner, but that's not real life. We all can't be winners. Okay. There are losers in life. There's winners and losers, and that's just a fact. Now, the losing doesn't have to be detrimental. It doesn't have to crush your life and lead to the mental health issues. If you teach them the resiliency skills, you learn from losses. If you're not pushing yourself far enough in life to fail at some point, then you're not pushing yourself far enough. So don't be afraid of failure. There's nothing wrong with failure. That's how you get better. That's how you get sharper. And so you have to change that narrative where like everyone's not a winner. Yes, there are losers, but you lose, but you actually gain something from losing. You learn more about yourself. Maybe you go in a different direction, but there's nothing wrong with losing, and they have to learn that.
Absolutely. So, have you mentioned about all these things, the solution part in your book that the generation and the future of the world will be able to look at it and learn things rather than just brooding about what happened to them or what will happen to them?
Sir, I hope so. It's gotten very good reception. There's several awards with Nonfiction Writers Association and the Big Book Award and Independent Press, and the Pulitzer Prize nomination was I was I was surprised myself. It was very humbling, but that message has resonated, and it's there. So hopefully they read that book, they take that away from it. So.
Absolutely. Anything in particular that you want to, anybody who will watch this episode, watching now, watch tomorrow, day after, and learn something from what you are saying? Anything from the book that you have mentioned? Few things that they can, immediately grasp and learn about resilience, about something more that you are trying to say, Dr. Josh?
What you do every single day does matter. You matter. Those decisions that you make, the people that you interact with, friends, family, colleagues, it makes a difference. So everyone has something different to give as well. We don't all have the same skill set. Some people don't like working with people. You don't want to coach little league soccer. It's all right. There's plenty out there for you. Go to an animal shelter. Those animals can become emotional support animals for someone. So everyone has a unique set of skills. Everyone can give in their own way, but get out there and make a difference because your community really does need you.
Absolutely, absolutely. Anything particular in the book that that you remember you want to tell or read out from the book, if possible, Dr. Josh, so that it can get etched in people's mind. Even I'm looking forward to learn more from this book.
Yeah, just everybody has a breaking point as well. So, there's some great examples in there, when you talk about resiliency and overcoming obstacles. I working with special operations. These are the individuals that are the mentally and physically toughest human beings on planet Earth. They do crazy things. They still have suicides in that population. So it doesn't matter how strong you are, or you just think you're just I have I'm the mentally and physically the strongest person. Everybody has a breaking point. So don't be afraid to get out there and seek help, talk with friends, colleagues, families. Have that weight behind your spear personally, your family and friends around you. Lean on them. They're there for you. Don't be afraid to ask because everyone does have a breaking point.
Absolutely. So, in a nutshell, what do you want what key insight, what key message that you want our readers to take away from the book?
If everyone just sits back and reflects a bit. So when I wrote the book, I just got to review like my life, family, my favorite teachers, my favorite coaches, professors, and just in military members, some commanders and leadership. That collective weight behind your spear, it's very special, and it's unique for every individual. So at some point, just sit down and think about those people. And if you think about just the 2, 3, 4 people that had the most impact on your life, that can be you for someone else. So pay that forward. So get out there and make a difference and pay it forward.
Absolutely. Any challenges that you see in this particular path for the young generation? Will it going to be the AI part, or is it going to be their own minds, the way they view their world, Dr. Josh?
Yeah, so the way they view their world, and that has everything to do with social media and AI and all the technology advances. Those are going to be some extremely unique challenges to overcome that previous generations have not had to do it, but we have to find a way. So, failure is not going to be an option, because their failure is everyone's failure. We need them to be successful. And so just finding a way to overcome that and reach them through the social media world, but you still have to have that face-to-face interaction. We're still social creatures. For thousands and thousands of years, we've told stories, and we've, culture, family, that matters. And that doesn't disappear just because we have social media now. So get out there face to face. I think that's going to help them overcome that challenge. We still have social media worlds, but we have to have the face to face interaction, and that's what it's going to take.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So this is one book. Any other book in the pipeline, Dr. Josh? Any other project that you are working on that you want the world to know about?
I'm very excited. My children's book series has been picked up by a publisher, right? Headline Books, they're kids. And it's going to have an 8-book series on teaching some of those very basics. So if you ask yourself, wow, how do I teach a 5-year-old kid about leadership and about integrity? Well, that's what this series is going to do. So we're very excited, and I won't give too much of it away, but that is in the works, and we're very excited.
Absolutely. There's so much to learn from you, Dr. Josh, from your life, the work that you do, from your book, and the series that is coming, next. A lot of people would want to connect with you. What's the best way for them to do so, Dr. Josh?
So the website is weightbehindthespear.com, WEIGHT, weightbehindthespear.com. And I have a foundation as well. If you put a /foundation, you can learn more about the Weight Behind the Spear Foundation. On social media, Instagram is Josh McConkey, MD. On X, it's McConkey 007.
Wonderful, wonderful. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of The Author's Voice with KAJ. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Okay, thank you.